Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard. I'm Lauren Feldman. I'm here with Gene Marks. Happy Monday, Gene, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Lauren. How was your holiday? It's been a couple weeks since we talked.
It's been a couple of weeks. I worked a little more than I wanted to, but it was a nice break. Basically, I really enjoyed it. How about you?
Yeah, the last 2 weeks of the year, every year is great. And I liked having Christmas and New Year's on a Wednesday because, even after that day off, it was like heading into the weekend. You know what I mean? So it was good. And it was a good holiday season. And it's unbelievable how corporate America, so many of my clients just shut down at Thanksgiving,
Either officially or unofficially.
Yeah, both. But I'm assuming everybody's getting back to work this week. So, fingers crossed, for goodness sake.
All right, so back to business. We haven't done this in a while. It's great to be speaking with you. You wrote recently about a slew of changes coming to retirement plans. Is it fair to say that these changes are basically designed to make 401ks work better for both owners and employees?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it all goes back to the Secure Act. There was the 2019 Secure Act and the 2022 Secure 2.0. And so a lot of changes came from that legislation, and some big ones are kind of hitting this year in 2025. And yeah, you're right. They're all designed. I mean, there's a retirement crisis, Lauren. People are not saving enough for retirement. So these are designed to make it easier or better or encourage people to save for retirement. And by the way, I do want to say, this is in the interests of business owners to understand these changes, because the more your employees save for retirement, Lauren, right? First of all, in a 401k, the more you can contribute without breaking those discrimination tests, so you want your employees to save. And also, I oftentimes come across clients where older employees haven't saved enough, and they've been loyal, and I've seen a number of times where the business owner helps out, like, all right, why don't you keep coming in a day or two a week, or we can pay you out a certain amount of money. I mean, you don't leave people destitute, so.
What's interesting though, Gene? Everything you just said makes perfect sense. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I also hear from business owners kind of the opposite, which is they have a lot of young employees who just don't care. The retirement plan isn't meaningful to them. They would trade it in a heartbeat for a little more money, this week.
And what's funny that you say that is that there's actually data, and I don't have it at my fingertips, but I was just reading how the Gen Z generation that's out in the workforce, and Gen Z goes up into their late 20s, they are the biggest savers of any generation that's right now in the workforce. Can you believe that? They say that
that's surprising.
The younger people are actually saving more money, particularly in their retirement plans, than anyone before that. They're less spenders. And I wish I had that data at my fingertips to share with you, but it's true based on that research report that I did. Anyway, putting all that aside, right? So a couple things if you're running a business, you need to make sure that you're on top of, okay? Number one, there is now a required enrollment requirement of businesses and their employees starting now this year in 2025, which means that if you started your 401k plan in 2023 or 2024, right, and you've got more than 10 employees and you've been in business for more than 3 years, you're required now to enroll your new employees and some of your existing employees based on when they started into your 401k plan. So somebody joins your company, boom, they got to be enrolled and automatically start taking 3% of their pay and contributing it to their 401k plan. And you're supposed to increase that 1% each year up to 10%. So this is like this requirement. And you're like, before people panic, the employee can opt out. So you're required to enroll them and
that's
start
the default setting.
Correct. That's the default setting. But you need to have a form, and you need to inform your employee when, at the time of hiring that, like, hey man, we're going to enroll you. We're required by law to enroll you in our 401k. Unless you want to opt out, do you want to opt out, sign this form. But you need to make sure you get the paperwork done, or else you're not in compliance. The idea obviously is to get people, in it and putting money away. Of course, nobody likes to be required to do that kind of thing, but that's the idea behind it. So you really want to talk to your benefit plan administrator and make sure you've got those, that paperwork set up and that process set up. And again, this is for any 401k plan started in 2023 or 2024. You have to have more than 10 employees. If you have less than 10 employees, you don't have to do this. And if you've been operating more than 3 years, you have to do this. If you've been operating less than 3 years, you don't have to do this either.
Can you do it if you want to, but you're not required to?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, of course. That's entirely up to you. But anyway, that's one big thing, is the required enrollment requirement this year. That's number one. More people can now contribute more to 401ks this year. The number one it's going up to $23,500 from $23,000. I also advise if you've got older employees, anybody over the age of 50. Tell them that they can make an additional catch-up contribution now of $7,500, and they can do it pre-tax and take advantage of this over and above what they're contributing. That's like a big deal. That's like a big number, and that way people can put money away, more money into their 401k to help them with their retirement. And remember, again, the more that they put in, the more you can put in. So without failing those discrimination tests. And then the third biggest thing that's happening, Lauren, is the Roth accounts. There's really no changes in Roth accounts this year, but I just want to remind everyone that as a business owner, you can now start a Roth 401k.
For yourself, you mean?
Yeah, you can do it yourself or you can do it for your company. And we've been telling all of our clients, start a Roth 401k. You can now contribute to it if you want to, or your employees can contribute to it. And again, just to make sure everybody's clear, a regular 401k, you put money away. You're just deferring your taxes, right? You contribute to it now, but at some point, the government's going to force you to distribute that money and pay taxes on it when you're much older. Well, with a Roth, you're putting after-tax money into it, and it grows tax-free. So it's a big bonus if you put it in now. If you're a younger age, you put money into a Roth, it grows tax-free for forever. That's a big benefit, and now employers can offer this to their employees. So I strongly recommend that you consider that. So those are among some of the new things in the 401k rules. There's other things like more part-timers can participate, for example, in a 401k plan. You want to talk to your benefits administrator or your accountant or somebody who knows anything about your 401k plan. By the way, it's probably not your accountant because we don't know nothing about that. So talk to your benefits people. They're the ones that supposedly know the rules.
All right, next topic. It is 2025. You wrote another piece recently noting that business owners are kind of optimistic about 2025, but you question whether they're being realistic. What do you mean by that?
And I think you would agree with this as well, Lauren, right? There's all these surveys that are coming out about business owners, about their confidence, and the NFIB had a survey recently. It's like a 23-month high in business confidence, and it's Trump, and it's pro-business, and yay, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm telling my clients, all right, everybody, don't calm down a little bit on your confidence, because we still have issues that businesses are dealing with. Inflation is still 50% higher than the Fed's target, and interest rates themselves are, the prime rate is still 7.5%. And, the Fed has already said that they're not, going to be jumping up and down to reduce rates that much faster, in the coming months of 2025. So we are still dealing with a,
I think that's in part because they see some of the possible policies coming down the road as being inflationary. Inflationary,
which gets me to my next point with, tariffs. You and I can debate all day over the good, the bad, and the ugly of tariffs. Trump will be using them as a negotiating tool and a diplomatic tool and a whatever. But, the bottom line is, though, is that they are going to have, inflationary pressure. There's no question about that. Hopefully a lot of companies can get around that.
He says it won't.
Well, he says it won't. I don't believe him. No economist believes him. Maybe it won't be as bad as, what some people think, but, come on. Walmart can only buy so many products from China. They only have so much warehouse space to buy stuff now before they sell those products. They're going to have to be buying products from China, sometime in 2025, and those costs are going to go up. And that's, it's just a fact if we're levying 60% tariffs on these goods. So you get these looming tariffs. They're going to create challenges for businesses, both the ones that import stuff and people that buy stuff that's imported. So it's there. Then there's taxes. I mean, you and I talked about taxes last year, and I was whining and complaining. If Harris wins, my taxes are going to go up. And yeah, fair enough. Trump has he wants to make permanent or extend a lot of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Acts provisions, like the small business tax deduction, the pass-through deduction. All that's fine, but I mean, he's still got to get through Congress. There are a lot of differentiating opinions. I mean, I used the example in the article that I wrote for the Washington Times. I mean, even when Obama got the Affordable Care Act passed, I mean, 34 Democrats voted against it. I mean, Trump doesn't have that kind of margin in the House, So, and we saw last week with Speaker Johnson. I mean, he barely got through to be, elected Speaker by the skin of his teeth. So, these are, a lot of these tax cuts that he wants to make permanent. They have cost to him, and it's going to be a battle to get some of this stuff through. And I think as business owners, we have to be aware, of that. Labor is going to be tight. It's going to continue to be tight. Immigration rules are not going to help that. And regulations are still very uncertain. I mean, Department of Labor has issued a bunch of rules on overtime and independent contractors, and the EEOC has rules, and like, what are all these things just going to automatically go away or turn around or stop or whatever? It's just going to be uncertainty. So I just, you know what I'm saying, Lauren? Like, it's not like
you sound like me before the election, Gene.
Yeah. No. I still think it's a much better business environment. I like a pro-business administration in the White House and in Washington and all that kind of stuff.
Are there any regulatory changes you're anticipating that you think will be helpful to you and your business?
Yeah, I could tell you one thing that I am most concerned about. I mean, is that Trump has nominated, surprisingly, a director of the Labor Department, Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez de Raymer, who is quite pro the PRO Act from California. You know what I mean? She's a big, pro-union person. And there's a lot of rules about independent contractors there that would not do very well with my business. So we need to keep a close eye on what she might be doing when it comes to both unions and independent contracting. I think that's one bit of legislation to keep an eye on. The other is minimum wage. Most states, not most, half the states in this country still have the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, which is crazy. But a lot of states are increasing their minimum wages this year. And I think that that's something as well that businesses have to be aware of. And then I think I'm going to be writing, soon, Lauren, you asked me like stuff I'm writing about. Certain states, particularly the obvious ones, New York, Illinois, California, they've got more rules and regulations coming out for their businesses on reporting requirements and extending leave for parental leave and things like that are going to also create some regulatory headaches for businesses that businesses in those states need to be aware of. So yeah, it's not going to we're going to continue to have a very interesting year, even with the pro-business environment that I expect to see.
You mentioned the tight labor market. Do you think Trump is really going to proceed with the mass deportations he has promised?
I do. I actually think he's made promises that I think he's going to get underway. I think you're going to be seeing not only mass deportation, they're going to focus on people that have criminal records or whatnot. I think
that wasn't the case last time.
Yeah, no, he's going to do it this time, and he's
no. Last time he didn't focus on criminal records. It was just people who were not here legally.
This time he said specifically that they're focusing on criminal records first. That doesn't mean he's not going to, they're not going to get to who's next in line. I mean, Lauren, I'm expecting to see on the evening news every night different videos of families being torn apart and this and that. I mean, come on, we're going to be seeing all of that. I don't think you and I talked about the article that I wrote. I mean, I wrote a piece for The Hill about how this would affect, small businesses. And, I feel very strongly that you and I talked about this months ago.
We did. I know the article you're talking about. I think I've got the headline right here. Will Trump's deportations create a hardship for small businesses? Let's hope so.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wrote. And I remember you saying, because we had this discussion last year about the deportations of immigrants. My point is that if you're a business and you're hiring undocumented immigrants, well, you're breaking the law. So let's hope you get impacted, because you should be impacted, and those businesses will be impacted. And, you had said, I know that you said your case that, well, there are probably businesses doing that, and the government hasn't been cracking down on it. So it was like a easier environment for them to do that. And maybe you're right, but
it has evolved over decades, really.
Yeah, right now it's illegal. I mean, it's illegal, and now there are
a lot of laws on the books that don't get prosecuted, and this is one that's I think we both agree it's a broken system. We need to fix the system, and my question is whether this is a fix or not. But there are people, there are workers, there are businesses that have had employees for decades who've been loyal employees who came at a time when they were encouraged to come. I mean,
Lauren, if they're undocumented, they're undocumented, and I'm not saying that all businesses do that, but I know I was just speaking to a woman just yesterday. She runs an employment search firm, and she's licking her chops because some of her competitors supply undocumented employees to companies. And she's like, those people are going to be out of business, and I'm going to snap up, that work. And those companies that have been hiring these undocumented workers, they're paying less, and that's why it's anti-competitive. She knows this company's going to have to pay more.
They're paying the workers less because they're undocumented.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I know that happens, but do you have data on that? Because my suspicion is that in the tight labor market of the last couple of years, even people who are not documented have been getting market wages.
I mean, it's tough to come up with data to do something like that because no undocumented worker wants to talk about that. But I specifically have a landscaping client in Bucks County in Pennsylvania who competes against other landscapers. And he has named out some of his competitors to me. We had this conversation about a year ago of some of his competitors that are not only hiring undocumented people to do the work, but paying them less. And therefore, they're able to quote jobs cheaper. And it drives him nuts and it frustrates him. And he kept reporting it. And there's been no follow-up by the government. Well, now it's new sheriffs in town. And I think that, those kinds of companies that are hiring undocumented people and taking advantage of them or paying them less, they're going to have some problems. So it gets back to what I wrote in the Hill. Will small businesses suffer from this immigration move that Trump is making? Yeah, I hope they do. Because if you're hiring these people and you're breaking the law, yeah.
But the point I would make is that I disagree with you a little bit on what you just said, but even if you take that at face value, it's not just those businesses who are hiring undocumented workers or have hired them in the past who will suffer if the deportations happen. It could be almost all small businesses that will suffer when that source of labor disappears, don't you think?
Yeah, so I think the indirect issue will be, say you're hiring undocumented workers, and that supply goes away because they're being deported or, the government's cracking down. And then you have to shift. So now you need to find, employees, right? And, legal documented workers. Well, that increases the competition for the other businesses that are also searching for those same employees. So
everybody's cost of labor goes up.
Right. So, it is going to make the labor market. And this gets back to the piece that you and I were originally talking about, your confidence. I mean, the labor market is tight and it's going to get tighter because of this. Listen, everybody I talk to, Lauren, and I know you and I feel as often as you and I disagree about different things, I think there's absolutely agreement that the system is broken. And for the benefit of all businesses, big and small, we must have a way to get some of these workers, these immigrants, the documentation they need so they can join the labor force. And every client of mine wants to hire these people. There's so many hardworking, good people trying to provide for their families and make a better life. And they're willing to do the jobs that so many Americans don't even want to do. There has to be some type of a solution to this. And, maybe something happens in the next 4 years. And, but it's frustrating to many of my clients and to me personally that our government cannot come up with a decent immigration legislation that would expand our labor market. So I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive, but I wish I I'd love to see that
Well,
happen.
it's hard for me to see the deportations as being a step in that direction. And there was actually an agreement over the summer that was reached that that got scotched, but we don't need to go back into history. The thing that's kind of interesting to me about this is when you look at the year ahead, you're kind of weighing a couple of different things against each other. To some extent, there's the regulatory environment that could improve for business owners, and there's the tax environment that could improve for business owners. And weighing against that is the potential, economic forces of the tariffs and the tighter labor market.
Yep.
And which do you give a greater weight to? Interesting question.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the answer. It depends on the business that you're in. It depends on how reliant
Sure.
you are on tariffed goods. It depends on how reliant you are on labor. There was a report that just came out at the end of last week in the Wall Street Journal about how, businesses and American productivity now is, at historically high levels. And that's because of, so many businesses investing in technology. So if you're, if you are leaning and investing in tech, maybe this is a good thing because you don't have to deal with these labor issues as much as the guy down the street who is still very labor intensive. So like everything else that comes down about the small businesses that you and I cover, there's 33 million of them in this country, almost 7 million that are employer owned. And
they have employees, you mean?
Yeah. Employee. Yeah. Employee owned.
They're not employee owned. They are employee businesses.
Right. Employer owned businesses, right? That's employer owned. So businesses that have employees, in different industries and in different regions with different levels of management expertise. And, the ones, some are going to be affected more than others,
How are things looking for you in your business? What are you expecting for this year?
Not bad, actually. I'm actually looking to hire 2 more people this year, which is good.
Good for you.
So I am, I'm bullish on that. And the work has been ticking up, which is also good. But I am seeing a lot of my clients. I'm hiring people, Lauren, which I think you might find of interest, that are less on the user side of CRM software and more on the development and technology side. Because my clients are asking for more workflows, more AI, more integration, from their CRM systems. And, we can provide that with a higher skilled person to do that setup and development work. But that's what businesses are asking for now. I mean, they're becoming aware that these tools are available, and they're doing it because of the labor shortages that you and I have just been talking about. So
interesting. Are you finding people who are interested in taking those jobs, or is that market tight too?
Yeah. So another really good question. I am. I mean, I've been advertising on Indeed, and I've been getting big responses. 90% of them not qualified for what I want. And when I mean not qualified, I'm looking for somebody that specializes in one of the products that we sell, Zoho, and has development experience. I'm getting a lot of people that just have development experience, but a lot. Like there's a lot of software developers that are out there.
You're looking for a very specialized skill.
Yeah. So what I'm looking for is a little bit more, like I don't want to train somebody in this product. I can't afford to do that. I need somebody to come in that already is familiar with it. But putting that aside, I'm getting lots of resumes. There's a lot of people that are out there looking for work. So I don't know what that means or says, but I think for businesses that are looking for these skilled employees, they're out there. I think it's the unskilled workers that, might be harder, which again gets back to the immigration issue.
Gene Marks is a CPA who writes weekly on small business for The Guardian, The Hill, The Philadelphia Inquirer, The Washington Times, The Chicago Daily Herald, Forbes, and Entrepreneur. You can also hear him on ABC Radio's Eye on the World with John Batchelor. Gene hosts 2 small business podcasts with Paychex Corporation and The Hartford. Thank you, Gene. I look forward to doing this with you again week after week in 2025.
You and me both, Lauren. I love doing this, and we will talk to you very soon. Take care.
Have a great week, everyone.